I've been sitting on this story for years, not because I forgot it, but because I never really wanted to think about it again. This happened when I was around 25, maybe 26, before I met my wife, before kids, before life got normal. Back then, I had way too much free time, and honestly, I didn't really think about risk the way I do now. I used to go on solo backpacking trips a few times a year. Just me, deep in the woods, far from any trails. No signal, no people. I loved it. My friends thought I was crazy. Maybe they were right. This particular trip was in a really remote forest. I had been out there for 2 days already and everything had been perfect. Weather was good, the trail was quiet. I hadn't seen a single person since the first morning. Then things changed. That afternoon, I noticed dark clouds building in the distance. At first, I didn't worry. I'd been through rain plenty of times. But within an hour, it got bad. Really bad. The wind picked up hard, the temperature dropped fast, and I had to stop to put on another layer. Then the rain started, and it wasn't just rain. It turned into a full storm almost instantly. The wind was strong enough to bend trees. I could hear branches snapping somewhere above me. Lightning was hitting way too close for comfort, and I was hiking up high with a metal frame on my back. I started to get genuinely worried. I needed shelter. Fast. I kept moving, completely soaked by that point, scanning the woods on both sides of the trail. I was looking for anything. Rocks, overhangs, anything I could hide under. That's when I saw it. A structure. Off to my left, through the trees. At first I thought I was imagining it, but as I got closer it was clearly man-made. A small cabin. One story. Looked really old. Like something from decades ago. Maybe a hunting cabin or something. I didn't even hesitate. I ran to it and pushed the door open. Inside, it was dry. That's all that mattered in that moment. It smelled bad. Really bad. But I didn't care. I just dropped my stuff, took off my wet clothes, and laid down on the floor. I was in survival mode. I just needed to get out of that storm. After maybe 10 or 15 minutes, I started looking around. There wasn't much at first glance. A chair, a small table, something that looked like an old cot frame, a fireplace on one side, full of old ash and debris. But then I noticed more things. There was a sleeping bag in the corner. It didn't look as old as everything else. That felt strange. There were also some cans and water containers on the table. It looked like someone had used this place recently. That didn't sit right with me. Then I saw the marks on the wall. At first I thought it was just damage. Old wood, weather, whatever. But when I got closer, they were scratches. Dozens of them. Some shallow, some deep. No pattern. Just random, desperate-looking scratches. I stepped back and looked at the door. The handle was simple, just a latch. Nothing unusual, but something felt off, so I opened the door to look at it more closely. That's when I noticed it. There was a metal bracket on the outside, for a padlock. On the outside. There was no way to lock it from inside. I just stood there for a second, staring at it. Then I went to check the window. The glass was still intact, which was surprising given how old the place looked. But then I saw why. There were screws in the frame, one in each corner, driven in from the outside, holding it shut. And around the inside edges of the window, more scratches. These were deeper. Way deeper. It looked like someone had tried to force it open, with their hands. That's when everything clicked. Someone had been trapped in this cabin, locked inside, not by accident, on purpose. I remember just standing there, trying to process it. I should have left right then. I know that now. I even thought about it in that moment. But the storm outside was insane, and everything in the cabin looked old. Even the sleeping bag, which looked newer, was stiff and dusty. I told myself whatever happened here, it happened a long time ago. So I stayed. Time passed. I don't know how long. Maybe an hour. The storm didn't let up. If anything, it got worse. The rain on the roof was so loud it drowned everything else out, which is probably why it took me a while to notice the other sound. A scraping noise from outside, along the wall. At first I thought it was a branch, but I couldn't remember seeing any branches close enough to touch the cabin. Then I heard it again, and then two heavy thumps, right on the porch. I froze. I just stood there, staring at the wall trying to listen. But with the storm, it was almost impossible to hear anything clearly. My mind started racing. What if those weren't the only sounds? What if there were more, and I just didn't hear them? I looked toward the window, but I couldn't make myself look through it. I don't know why. I just couldn't. If someone was out there, they could already be looking in. I stayed like that for a long time. Eventually, I started trying to calm myself down, telling myself it was just the storm, or maybe an animal. Then it happened, the door. I heard it creak under pressure, like someone was leaning against it from the outside. The latch rattled once, then it stopped. My heart started pounding again, and then something hit me. Why would someone be outside, in a storm like this, walking around the cabin, and not just come inside? The door wasn't locked. Nothing was stopping them. Unless they didn't want to come inside. Unless they wanted me to stay inside. That thought made my stomach drop. I didn't wait anymore. I started grabbing my stuff as fast as I could, shoving everything into my backpack. I didn't care about the storm anymore. I just needed to get out of there. I had this feeling something really bad was about to happen. And I was right. I was maybe seconds away from leaving when I heard glass shatter behind me. I turned around just in time to see something come through the window. I didn't even process what it was, because the next second, everything was on fire. The flames spread instantly, way too fast, like the place had been set up to burn. The heat hit me hard. I ran to the door and tried to open it. It wouldn't move. It was jammed from the outside. I slammed into it again and again. Finally, it gave. The whole door came off, and I fell out into the rain. I scrambled up and ran. I couldn't see. I didn't know where I was going. I just ran. Then something hit me from behind, hard. I went down. There was someone on top of me. We started fighting. He was trying to choke me, grabbing at my face, my eyes, my hair. He was yelling, screaming like a maniac. I couldn't breathe. I started to feel dizzy. I thought that was it. Somehow I managed to push him off. I got up and ran again. I could hear him behind me, still screaming. I looked back once. The cabin was completely on fire, like a giant fireball in the middle of the woods. I didn't stop running. I ran until my legs gave out. I found a spot under some fallen trees and crawled underneath. It blocked some of the rain. I just stayed there, shaking, trying to breathe. I don't know how long I stayed there. Hours, maybe. Time didn't make sense anymore. Eventually, I forced myself to move. If I stayed, I'd die. I got up and started walking. No direction, no plan, just moving. Somehow I found a trail. I followed it. I kept going. Eventually, I made it to a trailhead. By then, the storm had passed. The first person I saw drove me to a hospital. I had burns on my arm and neck. They told me I was lucky, really lucky. Later, I told the police everything I could remember, but nothing came from it. Too remote, no real location, no evidence. But I know what happened. Someone set that place on fire. There's no way a cabin burns like that fast, in the middle of a storm, unless it was prepared. Someone was there, before I even found that cabin, and they tried to kill me. After that, I never went backpacking alone again, and I never will. I had this friend back in my early 20s named Charles. He was the kind of guy who always found weird places to explore. Abandoned buildings, old factories, random off-limits spots in the middle of nowhere. If there was a place you probably shouldn't go, he already knew about it. He spent hours on Google Earth and random forums, sending me screenshots of places he wanted to check out. Most of our friends just laughed it off. I didn't. For some reason, I was always the one who said yes. That's how we ended up in this situation. One weekend, Charles texted me about an old fire lookout tower deep in some forest a few hours away. He said it had been abandoned for years. No fences, no security, just sitting there in the middle of nowhere. He wanted to hike out to it, climb it, and spend the night at the top. I remember thinking it sounded like a bad idea, but I still went. We drove out early Friday morning. It took about 3 hours to get there. Then we started hiking. According to Charles, it would be about 4 miles off trail. I honestly thought we wouldn't even find it, but we did. And when I saw it through the trees, I actually said "no way" out loud. It was tall, really tall, just standing there in the middle of the forest like it had been forgotten. When we got to the base, I noticed something weird. There was nothing stopping us from going up. No fence, no warning signs, nothing. Just an old metal staircase leading all the way to the top. The whole thing looked unstable. Some railings were bent. Some parts looked rusted through. There was graffiti near the bottom. It didn't look safe at all. But Charles didn't care. He was already climbing before I even made up my mind. I hesitated for a second. Then I followed him. We went up slowly, checking each step. Some of them moved a little when you stepped on them. Not enough to fall, but enough to make you think about it. Near the top, there was a vertical ladder section, straight up, maybe 20 feet, just a narrow metal cage around it. That part was intense, but we made it. At the top, there was a small cabin, windows on all sides, and a narrow walkway around it. The view was insane. You could see for miles, and we had perfect timing. The sun was starting to set. We sat out there, had a couple of beers just talking, watching the sky turn orange, then purple, then dark. When the sun finally disappeared, everything below us turned black, completely black. No lights, no movement, just darkness. The stars were incredible, but something about being up there, in total darkness, started to feel off. I couldn't see anything below us, but I knew the forest was there. It made me uneasy. Charles noticed and started messing with me, grabbing my shoulder, making noises. Then he did something that really pissed me off. He hit his metal bottle against the tower. Hard. The sound echoed everywhere. Loud. Way too loud. I told him to stop messing around. I didn't like the idea of anything, or anyone, hearing us out there. I told him I was going inside the cabin. He said he'd finish his drink and come in after. So I went inside and started setting up my sleeping stuff. Then he called me, quiet, serious, not like him. I went back outside. He was pointing down into the forest. At first I thought he was joking again. Then I saw it, a light, far away, moving through the trees. My first thought was simple. Someone heard the noise. Someone's coming. I whispered that to him, told him he was an idiot for making that sound. But he just looked at me and said, "You think that's a person?" I didn't understand what he meant. Of course it was a person. What else could it be? But then I looked closer. The light wasn't moving like a normal flashlight. It wasn't shaking or bouncing. It was smooth. Too smooth. We just stood there watching it, neither of us talking anymore. The longer we looked, the closer it got, and the clearer it became that something was wrong. That light was moving perfectly, like it was floating. Then suddenly, it jumped forward, just for a split second, like it skipped. Then it went back to moving normally. My hands started sweating. I could tell Charles was freaked out too. We didn't know what to do. Climbing down wasn't really an option. So we just stayed there, watching, waiting. After maybe 10 minutes, it reached the tower. The light stopped right below us. We couldn't see who or what was holding it, just the light. We waited for someone to say something. Nothing. No voice. No movement. Just that light. Then Charles did something unbelievably stupid. He yelled down, "Hey, you good?" I just stared at him. I couldn't believe he did that. We waited. No response. He yelled again. Still nothing. So now we were stuck, 70 feet up, in the middle of nowhere, with something right below us, blocking the only way down. We watched that light for a long time. It didn't move once. Eventually, I grabbed my flashlight and pointed it down. I still couldn't see anything. Just darkness around that light. At some point, we tried to act normal again, talking, sitting, but I never stopped watching it, not for more than a few seconds. Then suddenly, it was gone. Just like that, the light disappeared. No movement, no fading, just gone. Charles relaxed a little, said whoever it was probably left, but I felt worse, because now we couldn't see them anymore. We decided to go inside the cabin. At least there, we felt a little less exposed. We set up our sleeping bags, but neither of us slept, not even close. About 20 minutes later, we started hearing sounds. Metal sounds, clangs, like something hitting the structure. Not footsteps, something else. Then a grinding noise, like metal twisting. It lasted a few seconds, then stopped. The sounds kept coming, from different places, moving around below us. We just looked at each other. No idea what to do. No idea what was happening. We started whispering about what we'd do if someone started climbing up. That was the only thing we were really listening for. Footsteps. I was sitting facing the windows. Charles was behind me. Then I saw something. A shape moving across the glass. My brain didn't process it right away, but then it passed across another window, and I snapped. I yelled. We both jumped up and ran to the door, pressed our backs against it. If something came in, it would have to push through us. I tried to look outside again. Nothing. No one. That didn't make sense. There was no way someone could disappear like that. We stayed like that for hours, didn't move, didn't talk much, just waited. Eventually, the sun started coming up. Light slowly filled the forest. I counted to 3 and threw the door open. Nothing. No one outside. We rushed out and looked around. Still nothing. No light. No person. Nothing at all. We grabbed our stuff and started climbing down. Fast. About halfway down, Charles suddenly stopped. Just froze. I looked past him and saw it. A whole section of the staircase was gone. Not broken, not damaged, gone. An entire section missing, like it had been removed. We just stood there staring at it, trying to understand how that was even possible. Those sounds from the night, that had to be it, but it didn't make sense. We should have heard something like that, something loud. We didn't stay long, we had to jump across the gap. It wasn't huge, but it was enough to mess you up. Charles twisted his ankle. I made it okay. We got to the ground and looked around. There was nothing there. No tools, no metal pieces, nothing, just empty forest. We didn't say much after that. We just left. To this day, I still don't know what we saw that night. Not the light, not the sounds, not the thing at the window, and definitely not how someone or something removed part of a metal staircase without us really hearing it. We still talk about it sometimes, but we never went back, and I don't think we ever will. I've been going on solo camping trips for years, probably close to 15 years now. I know the risks. That's actually why I always bring a rifle with me, just in case. This happened about 2 years ago. I went out to a massive forest area, the kind of place where you can walk for days and never see another person if you know where to go. That was exactly what I wanted at the time. Life had been rough. I just needed to get away from everything. So I packed up, drove out early Thursday morning, parked near a trailhead, and started hiking. The plan was simple. 3 nights out there. Just me, my gear, some food, and silence. The first day was perfect. I hiked about 7 miles in and found a good spot near a creek. Flat ground, plenty of space. I set up my tent, gathered some wood, got a fire going before it got dark. I cooked, had a beer, sat there for a while just staring at the fire. Didn't see a single person all day. Exactly what I wanted. I fell asleep around 10. At some point during the night, I woke up. I don't know what woke me. It wasn't a noise exactly. More like that feeling you get when your brain just turns on. I was lying there staring at the top of my tent. That's when I noticed something, a faint orange glow, coming through the fabric. I unzipped the tent and looked outside. About maybe 200 yards away, through the trees, there was a fire. Not a big one, just a small campfire. It was flickering, definitely real. I sat there watching it, waiting to hear voices, movement, something, but there was nothing. No talking, no footsteps, just the fire. At first I thought maybe it was just another camper nearby. Maybe they set up late and I didn't notice. It happens. I watched it for a few minutes, just to make sure it wasn't spreading or anything. It stayed small, controlled. So I figured, okay, someone's out there. They probably just went to sleep and left their fire going. Not great, but not my problem. I zipped the tent back up and went back to sleep. Didn't think much of it. Next morning, that fire was the first thing on my mind. Not because I was scared, just curious. I packed up my camp and started walking in that direction. Took me about 10 minutes to get there. I was pretty sure I had the right spot. There was even a small clearing that matched what I saw from my tent. But when I got there, I stopped. There was nothing, no fire pit, no ash, no burnt wood, no rocks, no marks on the ground. Nothing. The ground looked untouched, like no one had been there in a long time. I walked around the whole area, checking carefully. Still nothing. No footprints. No signs of anyone. I just stood there confused. I knew what I saw. That was a fire. I watched it for minutes, and now there was no trace of it at all. I even thought maybe I had the wrong spot, but there weren't any other clearings nearby at the right distance. It didn't make sense. But there wasn't much I could do, so I just moved on. I still had 2 nights left, and I wasn't about to end the trip over something like that. I kept hiking deeper into the forest. The terrain changed. Trees got thicker, taller. The canopy blocked most of the sky. It got quieter, too quiet maybe. Around 4 in the afternoon, I found another good spot and set up camp. That evening was normal. I made a small fire, ate, then put it out around 9 and went to sleep. Sometime during the night, I woke up again. This time it was a sound, a loud one. A deep cracking noise, like a massive branch snapping. But it didn't stop right away. It kept going for a few seconds, then ended with a heavy thud. I felt it in the ground. I sat up immediately. I knew what it was. A tree had fallen. It didn't scare me at first. It happens. But then I thought about it. There was no wind, no storm, nothing that should have caused that. I tried to go back to sleep. Didn't work. My heart was still racing. Then it happened again. Another tree, louder this time, closer, from a completely different direction. Now I was actually scared. 2 trees, same night, no reason. That didn't make sense. I sat there trying to figure it out. Maybe some kind of chain reaction, but no, they were too far apart. Then I heard something else. A low sound, continuous. I don't even know how to describe it properly. It was like a mix between a groan and a growl. But it didn't stop. It just kept going. It didn't sound like any animal I knew. Not a bear, not an elk, not anything I've heard before. It sounded wrong, like something was making the sound on purpose. I grabbed my rifle, quietly chambered around, and aimed at the tent opening. I was fully panicking at that point. I just sat there listening. The sound kept going for what felt like forever. Then slowly, it faded. Not suddenly, like whatever was making it moved away. And then everything went quiet again. I didn't sleep at all after that, not even for a second. As soon as it started getting light, I got out of the tent, packed everything as fast as I could. But before leaving, I needed to see something. I walked in the direction of the second tree, the closer one. It took me about 10 minutes to find it, and when I did, yeah, it was real. A massive tree, lying on the ground, fresh. I walked up to the stump. The wood where it broke was pale, new. But something was off. The break wasn't normal. It wasn't clean, not like wind damage, not like natural falling. The wood looked torn. There were deep grooves in it, long scratches, like something had ripped into it. Parts of the bark were peeled off, and the wood underneath looked chewed up. I've seen animal damage before. This wasn't that. It was messy, aggressive, and it covered too much area. It looked like something had worked on that tree. until it came down. That's when I got that feeling, that gut feeling. Something's wrong. You need to leave. I started backing away, slowly. Then I saw something on the ground, near one of the branches. A couple of items, small. At first I didn't think much of it, then I looked closer, and my stomach dropped. It was my stuff, a blue bandana and a carabiner. I instantly dropped my pack and checked. They were gone. Something had taken them. I didn't think anymore. I just grabbed my things, threw everything into my bag, and started running. I didn't know if running was smart. Didn't care. I just needed to get out. I ran until I couldn't anymore. Then I walked fast, then ran again. The whole time, I felt it, like something was watching me, following me. I kept my rifle in my hands the entire time, ready. It took me most of the day to get back. When I finally reached my car, I didn't waste a second. I got in and drove, fast. Only when I got far enough away, I stopped and called the police. I told them everything. They didn't really take it seriously, but I didn't care. I was shaken for days after that. Nothing about it made sense. That fire from the first night, those trees, that sound, and the fact that something had gone through my stuff without me knowing. I still go camping, yeah, but that trip, that stays with me. Because whatever was out there knew exactly where I was the whole time.